Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first live town hall meeting being broadcast on Facebook. My name is Marcy Rosenblum. I'm the Communications Director for CWA Local 1180, the one that you get all the emails from. CWA Local 1180 is the best union in New York City, representing the best workers in New York City. You can all join us either in our audience or live on Facebook. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce our Local 1180 Executive Board members in attendance. If you could just stand quickly as I call out your names and just wave. We have First Vice President Gina Strickland. Second Vice President Gerald Brown. Secretary Treasurer Robin Blair Back. And Recording Secretary Lourdes Acevedo. We also have with us Hillary Bloomfield. Lisa Lloyd. Deborah Taylor. Lenora Smith. Venus Williams. And Hazel Morley. Honoring us with his presence tonight is New York City Councilman and former labor leader himself, Councilman I. Donique Miller. He will be addressing the crowd in a little bit and taking questions from the audience. So at this point, I would like to introduce President Gloria Middleton. And in order for unions to keep up with those times, we must change too. That's why we created this town hall meeting. It's a new and unique way for President Middleton to answer your questions in a way that the greatest number of members hear the answers. Having said that, we are limited to 1 hour for our program, so she will only be able to address a limited number of questions. We will be taking questions from the audience as well as questions from members submitting them via Facebook. Any questions that we do not have time to answer tonight will be addressed in the next edition of the Communique magazine coming out in September. So, without further ado, please welcome the greatest, most progressive labor leader ever, President Gloria Middleton.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I first want to just start by saying thank you for being in attendance to this first town hall meeting live on Facebook. I want to thank you for all that you do and being supportive of CWA Local 1180. I just want to thank the advance group and Marcy for putting this together.
Yeah.
I know during the summer break we don't have membership meetings, so we thought we would do this so that we could try to answer some of our members' questions until we're able to meet again in September. I know what's most on the minds of our members is bargaining for administrative managers, the EEO case, and for everyone in labor, it's about the Janus decision. So we are going to start our questions and answers, and we will get started so that I can get as many questions in as possible. First up.
Good evening, Madam President. My question to you is, President Middleton, what and how will you convey to the members of Local 1180 that the union will stand in spite of naysayers such as Mark Janus, and how will the ruling of the Janus case affect Local 1180?
Thank you for your question, and could you give me your name and where you work?
My name is Jacqueline Frazier, and I work at HRA, Department of Social Services.
Thank you, Jacqueline. That is on the minds of every person who is a member of any union. For Local 1180, for the naysayers, we have been working diligently to make sure that we get the message out to our members that this was happening. We started talking to our members ever since the Friedrichs case. You guys remember that, right?
Yes.
where there was a threat to have agency fee payers no longer pay dues. So we had to start talking to our members. We had to do business differently. Then we got saved by divine intervention. Scalia died. And we then had to reboot ourselves because here comes Janice, who you know was supported by the 1%. So we started putting our thinking caps on and making sure that we start talking to members one-on-one. While we're doing this live feed to reach as many people as possible, nothing beats one-on-one conversations with our members.
Yes.
And I am proud to say, as part of that strategy, Local 1180 has 94.16% membership. Since the Janice decision, we have not had members asked to opt out. There are the anti-union people out there who got a hold of some people's emails at work to try to get them to opt out. But we're standing strong, and we continue to press on, and we will continue to have those one-on-one conversations with our members. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Carmen Carter, and I am DCAS chapter shop steward. Thank you for the invitation. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you, Carmen.
My question, as posed to me by my members, are the health benefits. Due to the Janice decision, how will their health benefits be affected if they opt out of being a union?
What is so dangerous about Janice is that as long as they are in the collective bargaining agreement, they are a title that we hold, their health benefits will not change like a member's benefits. That's the dangerous part. That's what the anti-union people will come out and say to you, you're not going to lose nothing, give yourself a raise, because nothing is going to change. Yes, things will change. If we have no union, no local to collectively bargain, if we don't have attorneys to assist us with contracts, if we don't have the support of many of our members while we're sitting at the table with management to talk about health benefits, which in this last round, they wanted us to start paying premiums. And if it wasn't for the collective action of all the unions who are able to hire attorneys, etc., to be able to talk to the city and come up with plans where we do not have to take more money out of our pockets to pay for our health benefits, this is why we need a union. This is why you must pay dues. This is why you have to support your union. And for those naysayers, as the previous question said, get out of the way of Local 1180. Next question.
Good evening, President Middleton. My name is Charles Scott. I'm an administrative manager at New York City Transit and one of the 3 shop stewards that we have at New York City Transit. My question is, what happens now and in the future to unions, ours in particular, in light of the Janice decision?
We have to stay strong. We have to persevere. Let me just give you a little history about CWA, period, the national. We have 700,000 members in CWA all across the country. They include Verizon workers, they include flight attendants, they include the Verizon workers. Remember the Verizon strike a couple of years ago? CWA is used to having to go to members to collect dues. In states like Texas, the right to work state is a million of them, by the way. They have locals that have 95% membership. They don't have dues checkoff. They have to go to the members and ask them to submit their dues, either through paychecks or through going around and just asking them to bring their money into the union hall. So this is not anything new for CWA. So we are looking at their model, and wow, this is really becoming a right to work state, because basically we're gonna have to ask members to join. Yes?
Yes.
We have done everything in our power to make sure that members understand what the problems are now. And with the MOC, the Municipal Labor Committee, and the Central Labor Council, they have reached out to us. They have reached out to other unions. We are talking together. Recently, the governor signed legislation, knowing that Janice was coming, that if you are not a dues paying member, we do not have to represent you in disciplinary processes. Now, some unions have opted not to deal with those members at all. What we are discussing, the executive board, is we do not want to ostracize anybody, because any opportunity is an opportunity to have a non-member become a member. When that person calls the office and says, oh, I'm in trouble, I need help, and we look in the computer, because we have a database that's up to date, we know who got a call and who and we see they don't have a card, the staff rep will say, I notice you are not a dues paying member. Do you want to sign a card now? And hopefully they will say yes. And it's going to take a lot of work. Unions have to do things differently. Ergo, that's why I'm doing a town hall meeting on live baseball. So you have to re-strategize how you reach out to members. Unions became complacent. We were collecting the dues anyway, so it didn't matter what they thought. We're going to do what we got to do anyway. It's a new day.
Oh, yeah.
We need each other right now.
Yes, we do.
And in light of 45,
All right.
it is highly and strongly suggested that we begin to talk to members one-on-one. The surveys that we have done, headed by the retiree membership brigade, we're going to call it the membership brigade because people get confused. They think we coming to you to talk about retirement. No, we're not. We're coming to talk to you about what you think about your union. Are you active in your community? Do you belong to a committee, a borough committee? What do you think about your union? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? We have some of those R&Bs in our audience tonight. Just ask them to stand for a minute. All right. Thank you so much for the work that you do. And it's been amazing, the responses that we have. Ergo, that's why we have 94% membership.
All right.
Dues cards in our
Good evening, Mr. Middleton.
Good evening, Arthur.
My name is Arthur Johnson. I'm a retiree. My question is, what will happen to the retiree chapter membership now that Janet's case has finished?
Thank you for that question, Arthur. The retiree chapter membership is a volunteer organization that has elected to pay dues so that you can still stay active politically. Janice has no effect on that membership. Next question.
Good evening, President. My name is Monique Etienne. I work with the New York City Controller's Office, and I'm a PAA. My question to you is, now that we got the verdict on the Janice versus Axme case, if an employee chooses not to pay union dues and need legal representation in court regarding a landlord-tenant issue, will the union attorney represent that employee in court just like a real dues paid member?
Thank you for that question. Again, Mark Janice, and I have to remember I'm on live Facebook. I say, is a special human being, let me put it that way. He worked for the state for some 30-something years, and because he felt, and I saw a video with him, and he said, it's not that he don't like unions, he just don't think he have to pay dues to unions because of their political affiliations. And he's a state worker, okay, who hires them. The politics of the state decides how many people get hired for the state, etc. So you know he's being paid off. By the way, he has left his job and is now working for the Policy Institute of Illinois, where the 1% has all their hands in it, the Koch brothers and everybody else that you know. So kudos for Mark Janice. What that case did was say any benefits we provided before, when they were agency fee payer and when they were union members, those who are union members, we cannot stop those benefits. Your health benefits, the benefits we provide through legal comes from the welfare fund that we get money for the city for our members. So those are city funds. 1180 has done, and I'm not bragging on 1180, but I am, has done a phenomenal job with investments with those funds. We're one of the few unions that are not in the red. And so the legal benefits that we provide included people who needed to go to landlord-tenant court. So a non-union member would have that same opportunity. This is why we do not need freeloaders. We need people who are going to stick with their union and keep us strong. What we are planning on doing is, though, to have benefits that non-union members paid by the local will not be able to have. There are some insurance benefits that will be union members only, dues paying members only. We are looking at a disability plan in addition to the one that you have that will be self-insured. We are looking at scholarship programs. We are looking at several things that will be union members only benefits. So to let our members know, we hear you. We hear you. Thank you for that question.
We have time for one more question. Mr. Gonzalez?
Good evening, madam.
Good.
So my name is Luis Gonzalez, and I work with Align, the Alliance for Greater New York. Now, this is a non-Janice question, complete left field. The decision to disassociate from the WFP, although said to be for our benefit, came off very unilateral. And the recent victory by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who the union did not support and now uses for public speaking engagements, shows that the grassroots mobilization can work. So how can we as a local, a very powerful local, have proper input and autonomy on such political decisions made by the top?
Thank you for that question. It's very difficult. Understand, the WFP was initiated with the help of CWA. I was there when the first ceremony happened, when we went on the ballot. Bob Masters from District 1 was one of the initial leaders of the WFP.
That's right.
The decision to not engage with them through this election was a hard decision, and it came from the top. We got a call from district to say the governor had asked that we not participate in the WFP convention. Now, the governor has done many things for CWA. That Verizon strike that we won victoriously, he helped the CWA, the national, along with that strike, where we were victorious and those members got the raises and the benefits that they needed. With the Janice case, he signed legislation so that we do not have to have disciplinary, we do not have to represent people with disciplinary actions. He also put in legislation that when new members come in, and this is going to be so important, the agency has to let the union know that these people came in and where they are. That is so important, because if the new members come in, we don't know where they are, that 94% is going to go down, down, down. And because of that legislation, they can't do that anymore. They have to let us know. So politics, and a politician is getting ready to come up here, is very complicated and involved. We do have, and coming up Saturday, a candidate screening for our local politicians that's running, incumbents, as well as those who are running. Jerry will be talking about it. You'll see it on Facebook some more about what's going to happen on Saturday. So we do give members an opportunity to come to those screenings to talk to the candidates and give their recommendations. The ultimate decision is who we support and endorse, or sometimes there's no endorsement, is done by the executive board based on information from our members. So it's a complicated situation. Will we go back to the WFP? Probably. Some later date. Thank you for that question, though. Oh, a question came up. What is WFP? WFP is the Working Families Party. You have the Democratic Party, you have the Republican Party, and in New York, we have the Working Families Party that we supported for some time. Next up, though, so I get a chance to drink some water, is I have the distinct pleasure of introducing someone who probably needs no introduction. New York City Councilman Denise Miller. So many of you have already met Councilman Miller, as he is a strong advocate of the labor movement and attends quite a large number of union-sponsored events. Councilman Miller comes from the labor movement himself, starting his professional career as an MTA bus driver. He eventually went on to become president of Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1056, where he became a well-recognized champion and advocate for public transportation and working families. In 2013, he mounted an insurgent campaign for New York City Council, running on a platform of homeowner rights, transportation equity, and support of working families. He won, and as they say, the rest is history. Yeah. On a personal note, I have been in meetings with Danique before he became a councilman, because I used to do the collective bargaining for New York City Transit Authority, and he was the voice in the room. When they started talking their stuff, Danique said, you know, y'all gotta, y'all know this is not right. He's always been a voice for the working person, and I am honored to have him in this live feed. Thank you.
Good evening, Local 1180. Forgive me for those in the back, I'm gonna have to sit. So I just had a surgery at the beginning of actually in May. 3 vertebrae removed from my neck. It was interesting, but those come from my years as a bus operator, right? Pounding and so forth, and which shows the reason why we have to fight for workplace safety and that we never forget, and Creator gives us these reminders, right? These reminders. And one other mention we started, and I know Janice has been a big topic and all these other things about what organized labor and what unions do. This thing started about 20 years ago. This is a whole workers' comp case. And prior to 2012, it was after 2012, I'd have a bit of a problem, right? Trying to figure out how we're gonna pay for it, how do we address it, and all things like that. And the fact of the matter is because unions were out there that we have this legacy of being frontline on workers' standards, workplace safety, we are protected. And so we are always reminded about the things and the impact that organized labor has had on the lives of the workers. So it's a pleasure for me to be back here with so many friends, families, neighbors, constituents, folks that we have been on the front line for so long. President Middleton is just phenomenal, and she was just a star in waiting for so long, and then I'm just watching this butterfly blossom, and I'm so absolutely proud of my friend Gerald, and we really go back a really long time. You know, I've been at this almost my whole adult life. Some I worked in, we were doing the child care stuff together, and I was the only male there, and I was kicking and scratching because I didn't want to do it, but I would tell you, I learned more from those women that was in that room about organizing and being an advocate than anything I've done professionally before or since. And so it really prepared me for my next step as a president business agent, and certainly now as I address you as a member of the New York City Council, as the chair of Civil Service and Labor. I'm not here to sound the alarm because the alarm has already been sounded, right? We don't need to be redundant and go over that. I'm here with just a bit to try to keep it upbeat. Because I know, as President Middleton said, that we've been at this for quite a while, right? Friedrich, and prior to Friedrich, is always some guy, some girl, someone that is being financed by the 1% that they're pushing up to try to undermine the values of working folks. And so it was, you know, elections have consequences. And when they take control of the courts, we kind of knew what to expect. And with that being said, we continue to struggle, we continue to fight, and we continue to have a plan, which is why the latest budget of the New York City Council included over $1 million in funding for the Community School of Labor. This is where we nurture our greatest minds, and we leverage all of these resources here so that we know that we're prepared, that we continue to train, that we take these knowledge and resources into the classroom, cultivate them, and then bring them out to the membership, out to communities. And so there are so many things that are happening along that sphere that I know that we're going to be good. I spent more time in the last few months doing union meetings and things like this, although I gotta admit this is my first town hall. And this is, in some time, I actually did it when I was union president, and I think it's a very valuable resource. But just getting it out and telling our story, the story about the labor movement that allows someone like myself to be here, to be at the table representing each and every one of you each and every day. And I love my colleagues, but some of them have no idea what a union is. Some of them most of them have never belonged to a union. Some, you know, and sometimes, you know, it was interesting that I was teaching a labor relations course at CUNY some years back, and what's really interesting, and as Gloria said, from my MTA days, one of the persons who was a then up and coming manager on the labor relations side, we kind of did battle for so long that he injured himself, and he called me one day and asked me to sit in and replace him for his class for the rest of the semester, which was very interesting. And I spent the first 2 or 3 weeks talking to young people who really, because they was coming from a management perspective, have been coming from a management perspective, explaining to them the value of organized labor, who's paying your tuition, who's paying your health care, who's, and all the things that has sustained them in their lifetime. And so that was an exciting experience, but a very necessary experience. And I think that all of us have been doing our due diligence. And I know, I can speak for this local. And everywhere I go in my community, CWA is there, Local 1180 is there, and they're teaching. And so, and that's who we are. And I think the most important component, and what I bring all the time to the table when I talk about the value of organized labor, you look around us and look at this community here, and you look at the community that I serve, and as I said, I have some friends and constituents in here, is the most densely populated union district in the state of New York, right? New York, obviously, is the most densely populated state in the country. That makes 27th district the most densely populated union community in the entire country, right? It's also the community that has the largest African-American home ownership in the country, right? We also have more bachelor's degrees. We earn more than our white counterparts, only 1 or 2 counties in the entire country. And so all that is by virtue of organized labor, right? And that's what makes what we do here so important in sustaining communities, in uplifting communities, uplifting middle class, maintaining middle class, but more importantly, securing that next generation, which speaks to specifically what you're doing here. And that is what I said, man, I can remember myself being under the bus 2 o'clock in the morning talking to a mechanic, right? They're like, man, you don't ever go home, but this is our story. Going 2, 3 years without a collective bargaining agreement, right? And making sure that members are engaged so that they know that the success of this next agreement is based on each and every. I remember walking to a depot, hey man, where's my contract? Well, here's what we're doing. Here's what your executive board's doing. Here's what I need you to do, right? Next week, same thing. 3rd week you come in, a member yells out, you know what they're doing. Here's what they're doing. Somebody else is telling that story. And when we finally got that agreement, everybody knew that they was a part of it and that it worked because everybody has skin in the game. And that's what this is about here, making sure that that approach continues to exist. I think that I'm proud to say, and I'm keeping up on myself, the Amalgamated Transit Union remains at 100%, right? And certainly that there was something came out from the government that folks, that everybody has to have a checkoff card, right? And so we're going through that, making sure that happens, but just keep telling our story, and that is how this thing happens. New York has always been and will be a union town. I'm going to take some questions. And so, Marcy, I don't know if I worked for her or she worked for me. But she was already there when I became president. I was like, who is she? She's like, but she put out the monster, we had the best newsletters out there. We put out books. We talking about people being informed, and it was exciting. So, I know that I can take a couple of questions. If I don't acknowledge this young woman here in the corner here, who's been in my pile since about 5th grade. And that's our journey. That is a beautiful journey. The kids from NYCHA, with all of their stuff here, this is the best of who we are. This is a reminder of when public servants deliver the services at the highest rate. That's what gives the city value. The city has no value if you don't have good public safety, if it's not safe, right? If services aren't getting delivered, if we don't have good transportation, the value of New York City comes here. That's why, listen, when you go to the bargaining table, that's your argument. Your argument is that, you know, the city's doing well. It's only doing well because of the people that serve it.
That's right.
Do you have time for like 2 questions
Yes.
maybe from the audience?
Yes.
Anybody have a question?
New York City Fire Department. We know that all politicians are not as pro-labor as you are. In fact, you are one of the labor's strongest advocates in the City Council. In light of the Janus Supreme Court decision, is there anything that is being done within the City Council to assist the labor movement in making sure unions remain viable?
Okay, thank you so very much. And you have a tough job and the toughest agency of all. And we will chat offline. I promise you that you're not there with us. So, what are we doing? We you know, obviously, and in anticipation, we've done a few things. The first thing, I have a resolution that I co-sponsored with my colleague Justin Brennan, that would ask the state to allow New York City to match dollar for dollar a tax benefit for union dues, right? So that there's no excuse, there's no loss of compensation in doing so. And so other things around that. But I think more importantly, what we've been doing is, I've been working with the public advocate, and we've created this roundtable, and we've even included Bob Lynn and his team over at Labor Relations for the City of New York, and creating opportunities for unions around public policy and legislation that we're going to be rolling out in the next session. There's a number of things that we're going to be working on that will make sure that we're ensuring that New York is a union town. And I think that we say it enough, but our works and actions really demonstrate our value. And so the mayor knows that he has an ally, he has a partner in organized labor here. And so that makes us strong. You can't have rogue members going out doing whatever they want to do. That undermines agencies, it undermines efficiency. No one tells our story, and nobody, look, it's labor that creates these standards. You have to have standards for membership, and I know we're really time constrained, but I want to say this. I remember once, our first negotiation, I thought I was really prepared. And I knew that my membership showed up no matter what, rain, hail, snow, we was moving people. And I jumped in there, and Transit Authority had all this data, and they started on availability and all this other stuff. And that had never happened and will never ever happen to me nor any other labor leader that I know again, that we are always prepared, and we have these values and these standards on why we do what we do, why it's important, right? Because for everything you do, we expect to be appropriately compensated.
Right. Okay, we're a little bit behind schedule, but do we have one more question? Any? Okay.
Good evening, Councilman Miller. My name is Karen Chamorro. I'm a coordinating manager at HHC, Harlem Hospital. You recently held a hearing about 633 at which President Middleton testified the legislation deals with reporting of pay and employment equity data. By collecting this data, we will be able to determine whether agencies are being fair and equitable on salaries for various titles. If anything being done at the City Council to make sure this gets done, and if so, what's being done?
So we have been having conversation about 633 for a number of years. We pass it. It doesn't get heard this session here. It won't get the session that passed it. So I'm gonna so we're all in agreement at the council, the members, that it is an appropriate piece of legislation that it is a common sense piece of legislation that is absolutely necessary. I've seen, and you are absolutely speaking to the choir here when you see that you know, that we know that civil service is merit-based, and I think your leadership has articulated that better than anyone. But when you get into this bargaining unit here and managerial titles, that it's all over the place, right? And what those differences could be. And without transparency, you don't have the tools and resources to fix it, right? And quite frankly, this narrative coming from the administration about confidentiality, I don't understand it. I don't believe it. There's got to be something else to it. And if it is, come to the table and fix it. We've absolutely offered them a number of fixes, right? At every level, and every conversation I have with Arlen and his team, we talk about it. I think we're very close, but here's what I would submit to you. We all have friends, and we all have allies, and there's no stronger supporter than CWA 1180. For any member of the council, any member that holds citywide or statewide office, when you guys go in, you guys go in. Hold them accountable.
That's right.
This legislation is too important to hold it on something like that, right? Let's come to the table and figure it out. Look, all you got, listen, I've dealt with matters of seniority, confidentiality, and all this stuff my whole career. Inverse seniority, a million ways that you can do it and not identify who the individuals are. Quite frankly, if you talk to anybody in this room here, they don't care. What we earn is already public record.
That's right, that's right. That's
right? So, like, you're not protecting, them making an excuse that you're protecting this rank and file is bogus.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? It's disingenuous at best. Right? Because when it comes to you being fairly compensated, you're going to do whatever you have to do to make sure that's done. And so if that means that you're going to release my salary, that's nothing new. Everybody knows what I make. Everybody knows what you make.
That's right.
Right? So we're doing that, and we're continuing to have this conversation. And look, you cannot separate pay equity from all the other things that are happening here in the city. And folks are sometimes afraid to have those conversations. And so, I will just say this, I'll leave you with this point here. Stop giving it away.
That's right.
Stop giving it away. Everybody that you endorse, that you commit to, must be committed to pay equity in its absolute entirety. Otherwise, they're not worthy of your vote.
That's right.
Councilman, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure having you. I wish we had more time to answer more questions, but the star of the show must return.
I'm back home. I clicked my heels and I'm back home. Thank you so much for the invite.
Please welcome back President Gloria Middleton.
Hi, President Middleton. I'm Valerie Deshawn Defort. I'm with Finance and I'm a supervisor too. My people are asking me, when do we start negotiations for a new contract?
Hi, Val. And how did I know that question was coming up?
The DC 37 thing,
Yes.
so it's first.
Those of you who don't know, and those who have been here forever, like me, know that DC 37 holds the bargaining certificate for the citywide contract.
Yes.
So it stands to reason that they go to the table first. Just to let people know, their contract was up October 2017. So they signed their contract in July 2018. Our contract was up May 2018. There are some issues that we still have to resolve from the old contract, that we are meeting with the bargaining committee next week, August 7th, I believe. Some of those bargaining committee people are here. So we're gonna try to wrap that up, and then we send a letter to the city to say we're ready to negotiate the new contract, and we start the bargaining process. Whereas those who have been around know that we do surveys to the members, we call the shop stewards in, we set up committees, we make our demands, and so forth and so on. Understand this, when it comes to what your raise is going to be, those who have been around know the pattern has been set. So there will be other issues that we discuss and talk about, and we will continue the process. Okay? Thank you.
Albert Medina, you had a question?
What measures, if any, are being taken to ensure that the wide salary range of the administrative manager type is not exploited? For instance, keeping most administrative managers at the low end of the spectrum while giving huge raises to those who have gained the favor of management. Second part of the question is, why is the starting salary for the administrative manager so low? Many PAs may be able to earn more than an administrative manager with less responsibility. So what is the incentive to get promoted, especially when management can give the responsibilities without significantly boosting the salary to match?
Thank you. Those are very pertinent questions. I'll start with your second question first. Why is the salary so low? That's exactly why we have a case that's called the EO case for administrative managers, because the starting salary was suppressed for as soon as minority women start passing those civil service tests that Lemonade insisted that the city give, because before that administrative managers were picked, okay? And so when we gained the right to represent them, because they were in the managerial pay plan at first, there were more white males in that position, and that's why there's such a range of salaries. When the minority women start passing the tests, they never changed the minimum salary because they didn't have a union to bargain for them to make that salary go up and up and up, like it does for the PAA. So our president emeritus, when he saw that, had him being around forever, understood it and was able to talk to our attorneys that we are paying for, which is why you need to pay your dues, because the benefits don't pay for those attorneys. So we went to arbitration. We had to go to arbitration first to change the salary from $52,000 to $64,000, which it is now, based on the fact that we won that arbitration case. Now, once we are finished with this case and we actually have y'all able to continue to get contractual raises, that minimum will start to come up. Now, in the EEO decision and the settlement that we are trying to get signed on the dotted line, we make way for those people, even at the lower level, to be able to have a stepping process for that salary to get raised. But we got to settle the case. Okay, and it's been stall after stall after stall. We went to court Monday because the city didn't want New York City Housing Authority to be part of the settlement. And it was just phenomenal to see our attorney, Yetta Curlin, just go over and contradict everything the city was saying. As a result of that, Tuesday, the judge made his decision. New York City Housing Authority will be part of the settlement. We do plan on having an administrative managers meeting in September. We're looking for a space that's large enough to hold everybody, because I know everybody want to know. And then we will divulge all the information as to the aspects of that settlement. Because the administrative managers will have the opportunity to opt in or out of the settlement. But I think we work long and we work hard, and I think the administrative managers will be pleased once we sign on the dotted line. So thank you for that question. I think I answered both parts in a way.
Next member who submitted a question is Erlene Powell.
Evening, everyone.
Evening.
I have also a two-part question. My name is Erwin Powell. I'm Administrative Manager for the Department of Transportation, Division of Bridges. I wanted to know what can we do as a union to educate our communities of the benefits of becoming union members. That's one part. And the second part would be how can we educate people on various union jobs within our communities that are part of a local union membership and add the benefit that it provides to the community as a whole.
Good question. Thank you, Erlene, for that. First, I want to say 1180 saw that we needed to not only be amongst our members at a membership meeting in a hall somewhere in Brooklyn or Bronx or Manhattan, but we needed to expand ourselves into the community. So we have borough community committees. And the purpose of those committees is to invite your neighbor, your family, your friends to those meetings so that you can, first of all, learn about unions and what 1180 is doing, as well as get together on community issues. Because the CWA triangle for the national is labor, community, politics. They all go together. Okay, and the politics for your local, where you live, is more important really than what they do in the federal government. It affects it down the line, but how your schools get funded, how land is spread out, how developers get property, all of that is from your local government. And that's what the purposes of those committees are, is to educate our members as to how important labor is and how important it is to be involved in your community. And so that's one of the things that we're doing. Then the other part of your question, how do we get people to know about civil service jobs and unions, etc.? They learn about it from you. You and I is the first three letters in the word union. You and I. I don't do this by myself. You don't do it by yourself. It takes all of us collectively to talk to people one-on-one. Nothing beats one-on-one communication. I learned about unions from my father. He was a laborer. That's how he fed his 8 children, because he had a job that was a union job. We had benefits for 8 children. You know what it would cost to take 8 children to a pension? So that's how I learned about unions, and I wanted to have a union job because it gave me an opportunity to be able to have security, a pension, and benefits. And that's what we must do, talk to one another, because they're out there to get us. We are under attack. Okay, immigrants, labor unions, middle class working people, whether you're in a union or not. Why are we fighting to get a $15 minimum wage? Why are we fighting to get that? And 45 says that people are making too much money, the corporations can't do what they need to do because the workers are making too much money. This is insane. It's insane. I see Marcy looking at me.
Just because we're coming to the end of our Facebook hour, we wanted to take just a few questions off of the Facebook live stream. Callie, I think you wrote some of them down. Okay, so we have, how can the union ensure that a new shop steward is placed at a particular work site when the prior shop steward was promoted to another union, left the location, or retired?
How can we ensure? Out there in Facebook land, when you are missing a shop stool in your work site, it's up to you to call the union to let us know, and then you need to organize your workplace to find another shop steward. We don't appoint shop stewards. Members elect shop stewards in their workplace. You know who has the biggest mouth. You know who doesn't mind standing up to management. That's who you push. By the way, that's how I became a shop steward.
Okay, we have another question submitted by a member on the Facebook Live feed. When the union sits down to negotiate contracts, why can't we get raises of 7% or more?
You every question is a legitimate question.
Yes.
Okay. So those who have been around a while understand. As I said before, DC 37 has the bargaining certificate. The raises are based on what the city says they can do. They have to take money out of a certain pocket of their budget for staff and employees of the city. So we're talking about 300,000 employees, okay, different unions, etc. So there is money allocated for raises. Now, I'm going to tell you, we get the budget of the city. They allocated 1% for raises. When I say there, the mayor and whoever he deals with the budget. But through the Municipal Labor Coalition and sitting down at the table and making bargaining, that's what they call it, negotiating agreements between the health plan, because they wanted to say your raises will depend on what we do with your health benefits, because you don't get those free, you have to pay for them. They were able to negotiate the raises that you see DC 37 had. Now there are other unions that think they can do better. Guess who those unions are? Police department. You see them in the paper all the time, taking the city to arbitration. Okay, so the uniforms always think they can do better. They wind up doing the same thing. Sometimes they'll get a little bit more. But basically, when DC 37 sits at the table, the pattern is set. I would love to get a 7% raise.
Okay, just due to time constraints, we'll take one more question off of Facebook Live, and then we will allow President Middleton to give a few closing remarks. Short but sweet. Last question, why does it seem like it takes so long for the union to get in touch with the newly hired CWA 1180 members?
Good question. Prior to Janice, it was very difficult to find out where new members, when they came in, where they were, unless they came off a list. If they came off a list, then we knew when they were going to, whether it was a promotional pool or open competitive pool, so we would try to catch them there. And understand, once they went to that pool, they would send them somewhere else, and then it was hard to track them, etc. But based on the fact, as I said earlier, that the governor signed legislation that indicates, knowing Janice was coming, when new members come into the city, they have to notify the local that that title is associated with. So we now, and we have been getting them, and Gina, First Vice President, is responsible for that. The labor relations people have been emailing us to say, okay, we have this new member, they're coming in such and such a date, or we're having orientation, and we want you to attend. I think Venus Williams, our staff rep, went there yesterday or today. So it was hard before, but we will find them now, because we've got money. So Marcy says, sum it up real quick. First, again, I want to thank you all for coming out on this humid, hot day to be a part of this experiment that I hope went very well, and I hope you enjoyed. And out there in Facebook land, I hope some of your questions got answered. I want to thank Marcy for her hard work. In convincing me to put this together. I want to thank the advanced group. Who also tag-teamed me to do this. But I know it was a labor of love. I'd like to thank the staff that is here who helped put this together. I want to thank the owners of the town. I saw my just to let you know, this is a woman-run business. She is a member of local
157.
157. Women get together, there's nothing we can do. Like I said, this is the year of the woman and the men who support us.